Imagine this. A single penny. Brown. Ordinary. The kind you've ignored your entire life. And yet, this one coin has reportedly sold for as much as $844,000. Some experts say examples like it could push into seven figures. A penny that could change everything. And the most unsettling part? It doesn't look rare at first glance. It doesn't shine. It doesn't scream treasure. It hides in plain sight. Today, you're about to hear the story of the 1955 Lincoln cent with no mint mark, a coin that turned pocket change into generational wealth, and might still be waiting for the right hands to notice it, because here's the question that should stop you cold. What if the most valuable coin you'll ever own has already passed through your fingers? Act 1 begins in the most unremarkable place imaginable, everyday America, 1955. Eisenhower was in the White House. Gas was cheap. Pennies were pennies. Billions of Lincoln cents poured out of the Philadelphia Mint that year, all carrying no mint mark at all. Nothing unusual. Nothing special. Just copper coins meant to be spent, dropped, forgotten, but something went terribly wrong. In the early hours of production, a single die, the steel stamp that strikes coins, was misaligned. Not slightly. Catastrophically. When it struck the Lincoln cent design, it doubled the date and lettering so dramatically that even a casual glance should have raised alarms. Except it didn't. No one noticed. Or worse, no one stopped it in time. Thousands of these flawed coins were struck and released into circulation, not destroyed, not locked away, spent. Imagine the sound of that first doubled die cent hitting a cash drawer. The clerk didn't flinch. The customer didn't look twice. A fortune changed hands for 1 cent, and this is where the story turns darkly fascinating, because most mint errors are subtle. Microscopic. You need a loop, training, and patience. But the 1955 doubled die Lincoln cent? It practically shouts. Liberty appears doubled. In God we trust looks like it's vibrating. The date 1955 appears stamped twice, slightly offset, as if reality itself slipped for a moment. This wasn't a minor mistake. It was a minting catastrophe, and catastrophes create legends. Word spread slowly at first. Collectors noticed. Dealers whispered. Then the realization hit like a thunderclap. These weren't damaged coins. They weren't post-mint errors. They were authentic, government-made mistakes, legally struck, fully sanctioned, and never meant to exist, and suddenly, the most boring penny in America became the most hunted. Here's the twist that catches people off guard. Every genuine 1955 double die cent has no mint mark. Why? Because it came from Philadelphia, the only U.S. mint at the time that didn't use one. That tiny absence, the missing letter under the date, is part of what makes this coin so dangerous to ignore. People assume no mint mark means common. Ordinary. Worthless. That assumption has cost people fortunes. Act 2 is where the suspense tightens, because not all 1955 no mint mark pennies are valuable. In fact, most are worth exactly 1 cent. That's the cruel brilliance of this story. The treasure is surrounded by decoys. Millions of ordinary coins camouflage the few that matter. So how do fortunes slip through fingers? Condition. This is where the numbers get shocking. A worn 1955 double die cent might fetch a few $1,000s. Still life-changing for a penny. But as condition improves, values don't rise steadily, they explode. Sharp details. Strong doubling. Minimal wear. Original surfaces, and at the very top, elite examples graded in the highest mint state categories have reportedly sold for jaw-dropping sums. Auctions have recorded prices climbing into the hundreds of thousands, with at least one documented sale reaching approximately $844,000. And some experts believe that if a nearly perfect specimen surfaced today, fresh, blazing red, untouched, it could command offers approaching or exceeding $1 million for a penny. Pause on that point. 1 cent, struck by mistake, capable of buying a home, or more, and yet, the danger deepens, because as values climbed, so did deception. Counterfeits flooded the market. Altered coins. Tooled dates. Added doubling. The 1955 doubled die became one of the most faked U.S. coins in history. Entire careers were built on trying to imitate it, which means somewhere out there, real ones were dismissed as fakes, and spent anyway. Think about that. A coin worth hundreds of thousands, tossed back into circulation because someone didn't believe their own luck. And here's another unsettling revelation: the 1955 double die wasn't immediately rare. Many were found in cigarette packs, vending machines, and pocket change throughout the late 1950s. Kids spent them. Adults ignored them. Collectors hesitated. How many were lost forever? How many were scraped, bent, corroded, or melted down? The population today is a fraction of what once existed. And pristine survivors? Almost mythical. That's why condition drives insanity-level prices. A single grade difference can mean tens of thousands of dollars. A single fingerprint can erase a small fortune. A single cleaning can turn a six-figure coin into a curiosity, and yet, this is what fuels the dream, because unlike gold bars locked in vaults, these coins were released into the wild. Act 3 begins with a quiet, dangerous thought: what if one still hasn't been found? Collectors believe many have already surfaced. Others quietly disagree. Coins sit in old jars. Estate collections. Forgotten drawers. Boxes no one's opened in decades. And every so often, someone checks, and everything changes. Picture this. A man sorting through his father's belongings. A woman emptying a childhood piggy bank. A roll of pennies from an old hardware store. A glance. A pause. The date looks strange. The letters seem thicker. Is it doubling, or just wishful thinking? That moment, that heartbeat, is where this story lives, because the 1955 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent teaches one brutal lesson. Wealth doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it disguises itself as ordinary. Sometimes it waits for curiosity to wake it up. This coin didn't make headlines because it was beautiful. It made headlines because it was overlooked, and that's the final revelation. The greatest fortunes in numismatics aren't found by people chasing hype. They're found by people who pay attention. People who slow down. People who look twice at what everyone else ignores. So the next time you see a penny from 1955, don't laugh. Don't dismiss it. Don't assume it's common just because it lacks a mint mark. Ask the dangerous question: what if this is the one? Because somewhere, right now, a coin worth more than most people's lifetime earnings could be sitting in silence, waiting for the moment someone finally notices the doubling, and realizes that one small mistake in 1955 never stopped changing lives. Maybe the next one is yours. In 1952, a single penny slipped quietly into circulation, unnoticed, uncelebrated, and underestimated. No fireworks. No headlines. Just copper, wheat stalks, and a tiny letter beneath the date. And yet, decades later, that same coin would ignite whispers of six-figure sales, fuel rumors of life-changing finds, and send collectors racing to their change jars with trembling hands. Because what if I told you that one ordinary-looking 1952 Lincoln cent with a small D mint mark has been linked to reported sales as high as $844,000, not because it was supposed to be rare, but because it wasn't supposed to exist the way it does? This is the story of the 1952 D Lincoln cent, a coin so overlooked that most people spend it without a second glance, and so misunderstood that its most valuable versions are hiding in plain sight. Imagine this: you're holding a penny that looks just like every other wheat cent you've ever seen. Lincoln's profile. 2 wheat stalks. Brownish copper worn smooth by time. Nothing screams treasure. And that's exactly why it's dangerous, because the most valuable coins are never the loud ones. They're the quiet ones that slip through history unnoticed. In 1952, the Denver Mint was working at full speed. America was post-war, expanding, spending, consuming. Pennies were churned out by the hundreds of millions. The 1952 D was supposed to be common, disposable, forgettable, but somewhere in that flood of copper, mistakes happened. Tiny mistakes, invisible mistakes, the kind of mistakes that don't announce themselves. They wait, and decades later, those mistakes would become the difference between a 1-cent coin and a down payment on a house. Here's the first twist: most people assume that rarity means low mintage. But with error coins, rarity comes from chaos. From moments when machines stuttered, dies shifted, planchets went wrong, or mint workers didn't catch what slipped through, and the 1952 descent is a perfect storm for that chaos. Collectors have documented repunched mint marks. The D struck more than once, sometimes tilted, sometimes doubled, sometimes shadowed like a ghost beneath the surface. To the untrained eye, it looks like damage. To the trained eye, it's a fingerprint of the mint itself. Then there are die cracks. Heavy ones. Cracks that run like lightning through Lincoln's portrait or across the wheat stalks. Some form raised lines. Others explode into full-cut errors, blobs of metal where the die literally broke apart. And then, there are the errors most people don't even know to look for. Off-center strikes, broad strikes, wrong planchets, clipped blanks, strikes so unusual they shouldn't exist, but they do. Here's where the story takes a darker turn, because when a coin like this surfaces in top condition, untouched red luster, razor-sharp details, pristine surfaces, the rules change. Condition is everything. A circulated 1952 D is pocket change. An uncirculated one is a curiosity, but an elite grade example, especially one paired with a dramatic mint error. That's when auction rooms go silent. There are reports, fiercely debated, heavily scrutinized, of extraordinary Lincoln cent errors, including 1952 D varieties, reaching jaw-dropping numbers when the right elements collide, extreme rarity, flawless preservation, and undeniable authenticity. One reported sale has echoed through collectors' circles for years. $144,000, was it just a penny, or was it a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly, a coin that should never have survived, let alone survived perfectly? Here's the chilling part, most people would have spent it. That coin could have passed through grocery stores, gas stations, vending machines, children's piggy banks. One careless moment. One soda purchase. Gone forever, and that raises a terrifying question. How many others slipped through? How many are still out there? Because the Denver Mint didn't know which coins were special, the public didn't know what to look for, and the errors didn't announce themselves, they hid. Even today, thousands of 1952 D cents sit in jars, drawers, coffee cans, inherited collections, never examined under magnification, never weighed, never compared. Most owners don't know that the position, shape, and depth of that tiny D can change everything. They don't know that a subtle doubling, a raised rim, or a strange texture could be the signature of a rare strike. They don't know that color matters, brown versus red can mean the difference between hundreds and tens of thousands, and that ignorance is the final twist of the knife, because every year, coins like this are lost, spent, cleaned, damaged, value erased forever. This is not a story about guaranteed riches. It's a story about possibility, about the idea that history doesn't always announce itself with trumpets. Sometimes it whispers from the bottom of a jar. Think about it, the most expensive coins ever sold weren't found in vaults. They were found by people who bothered to look twice, people who asked, what if this isn't ordinary? People who understood that rarity often wears a disguise. The 1952 D Lincoln cent is not famous because it's obvious. It's famous because it's deceptive, because beneath its plain surface lies a minefield of hidden varieties, mint errors, and condition-based surprises that can turn skepticism into shock in seconds, and that's why this coin still matters. Not because every example is valuable, but because you don't need many to change your life. You only need 1.1 wrong planchet, 0.1 dramatic error, 0.1 pristine survivor that escaped decades of wear. That's the dream that keeps collectors searching. That's the spark that turns casual curiosity into obsession. And tonight, somewhere in America, someone is holding a handful of pennies without realizing what they're touching. So here's the real question. If a penny worth nearly $1 million can hide behind Lincoln's calm expression and a tiny letter beneath the date, what's hiding in your collection? Because the next great discovery won't come from a museum. It won't come from a bank vault. It will come from someone who decided to look closer, and the 1952 D Lincoln cent is still waiting. Imagine this. A single penny. Brown. Worn. The kind you've walked past your entire life without a second thought. Now imagine that same penny quietly carrying a price tag so high it could change your future forever. Not because it's gold. Not because it's ancient. But because it's hiding something almost no one ever notices. This is the story of the 1948 Lincoln cent with no mint mark, and what I'm about to tell you might make you look at every coin in your house very differently, because while most people see pocket change, seasoned collectors see possibility. And sometimes, just sometimes, that possibility explodes into six figures. Or more. What if I told you that reported market sales for this exact penny have reached as high as $844,000 in top condition? What if I told you that certain hidden errors tied to this date are whispered about in the same breath as million-dollar legends? And what if I told you that many of these coins are still out there, hiding in plain sight? Stay with me. Because this story doesn't begin with wealth. It begins with neglect. In 1948, America was rebuilding. World War II was over, factories were humming again, and the US Mint was striking coins by the billions. The Lincoln cent was nothing special to the average person. Copper was back. Steel cents were gone. Life felt normal again, and that's exactly why this penny slipped under the radar. No mint mark meant it was struck in Philadelphia, the busiest mint in the country. Millions upon millions rolled off the presses. They flooded circulation. They filled drawers, jars, and pockets across America. Most were spent, most were worn down, most were forgotten, but not all, because when production happens at massive speed, mistakes happen. And in the world of coin collecting, mistakes aren't flaws. They're jackpots. Here's the twist most people don't realize. The value of a coin isn't determined by age alone. It's determined by rarity, condition, and error. And the 1948 no-mint mark Lincoln cent sits at a dangerous intersection of all three. On the surface, it looks ordinary. Abraham Lincoln's calm profile. Wheat ears framing the reverse. Nothing flashy. Nothing obvious. That's the trap, because the most valuable examples of this coin don't announce themselves. They whisper. Collectors have documented 1948 cents with dramatic doubled dies, where Lincoln's lettering appears thick, ghosted, almost vibrating under magnification. Others show off-center strikes so severe they border on surreal. Some were struck on the wrong planchets entirely, experimental or leftover blanks that were never meant to become pennies at all, and then there's condition. Here's where the story takes a sharp turn. Most 1948 pennies survived circulation. That means they're worn. Brown. Dull. Common. But a microscopic fraction escaped untouched. No pockets. No cash registers. No friction. Full red luster. Original mint brilliance. Not a single distraction under magnification. In the coin world, that's not just rare. That's explosive. When one of these pristine examples appears, certified at the highest grades ever recorded, bidding doesn't climb. It detonates, auction rooms fall silent, hands shake, numbers jump in five-figure increments, and that's where reports emerge. Sales whispered about. Records cited. One extraordinary 1948 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, preserved in astonishing condition, reportedly reaching as high as $844,000 when the hammer fell. Let that sink in. A penny. Nearly $1 million. Now here's the question that resets everything. How many people held that coin before anyone realized what it was? That's the uncomfortable truth. Life-changing coins don't come with warning labels. They pass through hands that never look twice. They sit in jars. They hide in inherited collections. They wait, and sometimes, they wait for you, but the story goes deeper, because the real intrigue around the 1948 cent isn't just what is sold. It's what might still exist. Every generation of collectors knows this secret. The biggest discoveries are rarely found in auctions. They're found in estates. In forgotten boxes. In rolls that haven't been opened in decades. What if a 1948 cent exists with an undocumented error? A dramatic die clash. A previously unknown doubled die. An off-metal strike that slipped past quality control and vanished into circulation. That's how legends are born. That's how impossible prices become real. And this is where urgency enters the room, because the longer these coins sit unnoticed, the greater the chance they're lost forever. Cleaned. Damaged. Spent. Destroyed by ignorance. One careless cleaning can erase hundreds of thousands of dollars in value in seconds. One trip through a coin counting machine can end a dream before it begins, and yet, many are still out there. Think about how many 1948 pennies were saved by people who didn't know what they had. Think about how many were tucked away because they were old, not valuable. Think about how many collections are being inherited right now by families who have no idea what's inside. This is where the story turns personal, because the difference between the person who walks past wealth and the person who finds it often comes down to one thing: attention. The people who strike gold in coin collecting aren't lucky. They're curious. They look closer. They ask questions. They don't assume they already know the answer. They understand that no mint mark doesn't mean no value. It means Philadelphia. And Philadelphia produced some of the most dramatic errors in US coin history. So here's the moment that changes everything. Imagine holding a 1948 penny right now. You tilt it under the light. You notice something slightly off. The date looks thicker than it should. The letters don't quite line up. The strike feels unusually sharp. Your heart rate changes because suddenly, this isn't pocket change anymore. It's a question. And questions are powerful. Is it real? Is it rare? Is it worth getting graded? That single decision to look closer instead of looking away has been the first step in countless six-figure stories. And that's why this penny matters, not because every 1948 cent is valuable. Most aren't. But because some are extraordinary. And the gap between ordinary and extraordinary is invisible to the untrained eye. This coin teaches a brutal lesson. Wealth doesn't always look like wealth. Sometimes it looks like a penny. So the next time you see one, don't rush. Don't dismiss it. Don't assume, because somewhere out there, a 1948 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent is waiting for someone who understands what others missed. Someone willing to look twice. Someone who knows that history doesn't always shout, sometimes it hides, and if you're the one who finds it, the story doesn't end with a penny. It begins with a decision.